Men have taught me a great deal about not relying on them for money. There was this one time, me and the guy I was dating decided that we wanted to go on a group cabin trip. Back then on Facebook, there used to be like these groups that would take cabin trips from Atlanta to Tennessee. And so we wanted to go on a cabin trip together, and we decided that we was going to split it down the middle. Both of us was financially in a good place. We were both employed, so it made sense. I think the trip was only about $500, if that much. I was supposed to come up with my portion of the money on the day that we was leaving for the trip. We decided to both drive our own way to the cabin. He was driving a 2-seat BMW drop top, and it was so tiny to me. I was scared to ride on the side of a mountain in his 2-seater. So I was like, I'm just gonna drive myself. So I hopped in my brand new special edition Honda Accord, which was a dope Honda Accord. I miss it. It was at LA. When I told him I didn't want to ride with him in his BMW, he was kind of shocked. Cause it's a BMW. Again, I was supposed to pay my portion of the trip on the day we left for the trip, which was a Friday, which was also my payday. Well, some of y'all know your check come early sometimes. So for some reason, my check didn't come that Thursday. It was supposed to come Thursday. So the day that we left on that Friday was the day I was supposed to give him my half of the money for the trip, which was the same day we were supposed to be leaving for the trip. So Thursday came and I didn't get paid, but I knew the next day was Friday. So I was like, okay, if I don't get paid today, I'm probably going to get paid tomorrow. So I hit him up. I said, listen, I didn't get paid today for some reason. Can I just pay you back later? Because for some reason it's not here. He got upset with me. Left on the same day, that Friday, without me, right? Goes on the cabin trip. I get paid that Friday night for some reason. So that Saturday, I got in my car and drove out to the cabins. I get to the cabins. Everybody's looking at me like I'm crazy, like, oh my gosh, she's here. And tells me that the night before, him and some other girl who was inside of that Facebook group, a part of the travel group, them two had been banging all night in the bathroom. And apparently when I got there, she was in his room sleeping with him. So I decided to go find me a hotel away from the cabins. And I went and stayed in like this nice hotel that had like a spa tub. It was nice. I had a good time by myself for the rest of the weekend. And then I drove back to Atlanta. He had been my friend for a while. We had dated for a while. And I just couldn't understand how just me not paying him $200 for my portion of the trip was enough for him to sleep with someone else on the very trip we were supposed to go on. Like, to me, that still that doesn't make sense in my mind. And then when I showed up the next day, he was trying to act like he didn't even know me like that. I don't see how women rely on men for survival. I don't understand how y'all do that. Now, I'm not saying all men are him. A lot of men would never do nothing like that, especially to a woman they genuinely want. A man who truly values you would have just been like, it's cool, pay me back later, or he never would have asked you to go half on a trip anyway. If y'all the right couple, y'all gonna go on more than one trip anyway, and there's gonna be a time where one of y'all pay the whole thing or the other pays the whole thing. It's a partnership. It's about being a power couple. I think a lot of people don't understand unity. I think a lot of men have been hurt by certain women, so the way that they respond to certain situations prove it. And I think with that specific situation, I think another woman may have used him for money or something like that. He and I had always done everything equally, and that was actually our first trip. All of our dates had always been equally. Sometimes he drives, sometimes I drive, sometimes I pick the place, and other times he picked the place. I was just surprised that he handled $200 that way. It wasn't like it was an expensive trip. We weren't in Bermuda. It wasn't a trip to Dubai. We didn't fly private or some shit. We was doing a road trip to a neighboring state. I just can't believe it. But it's stories like that specific story right there, that has me on this mission for women to go out there and generate their own income and to not rely on men for it. Because for some reason, men, they sometimes lose respect for women that they have to pay for, or women they have to carry or babysit financially. A lot of times they feel like, well, if I'm paying for this, if I'm giving her money, if I'm giving her room and board, if I'm buying her everything she wants, that means I can sleep with who I want or do what I want. It's just a weird dynamic with men and money. So as a woman, you should always have your own way. You should always have your finances together. And this is why I wrote as many books as I wrote about money. I have so many stories about how men have treated me weird when it comes to money. Please go out there and get your own, because you never know. A lot of times when they change their mind about you, or they find another woman that they prefer to be with, they tend to treat you very different. So always be prepared for the man in your life to change his mind about you, or for things to happen to where you have to start being the person that brings in some type of income, or it's going to be you that has to pay for something.